Hey College and Career Success, this is your assignment video for week 4. So this week you have 3 assignments. As usual, you have a discussion post due by Wednesday for week 4 attendance, and you're going to respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. Your chapter 3 assignment, you have 1 of those, and in the last couple chapters you've had 2 assignments per chapter. Only 1 chapter assignment this week, and then a chapter 3 quiz. So if you have not already checked out the materials, please make sure you go ahead and take a look at the chapter 3 slides or the chapter 3 lecture video or the chapter 3 text or all of those things. So let's go ahead and hop into your assignments for this week. So first thing is your chapter 3 discussion. I think we're pretty much getting the hang of it now. So when you go in here, your original response again is due by Wednesday for week 4 attendance. Respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. Remember, our response is, a sentence or 2, answering a question, asking a question, building off of what someone else has said. So not just like a 1 or 2 word response. Also, your initial post needs to be around 150 words or more. So if you're falling very short, then you are getting points taken off. So if it's, like less than 135 or so, that's when I start to knock it off, I'm noticing. But if you're pretty close, I'm not going to take points off, and I don't take points off if it's over. So just try to get it as close to that 150 words as possible. So the prompt for this week is, can you identify any areas in your life that might be a potential problem if there were a temporary setback? For instance, if you lost your transportation, if your car broke down for a little while, you got COVID and you had to quarantine, your childcare fell through, anything kind of like that. So think about things, because part of being a college student is also having backup plans. And so if we can think through those situations, for instance, I have to think, like, if one of my children were sick from school, how would that look like in terms of calling off work or my husband calling off or anything like that? Seeing how that would work, or if we were down to 1 vehicle. So kind of thinking through, so what could you do for a backup plan if something did happen? So think about that, come up with, and maybe you can think of a couple temporary setbacks, or maybe you can only think of 1. So anything that would be a setback, and we're talking like academic, it would delay your academic progress, maybe a technology issue, you're in an online class. So what happens if your device breaks, or if you do not have internet, or something happens, you can't get on to access your assignments? What kind of backup plan would you have? So post original response by Wednesday for attendance, and then respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. All right, your chapter 3 assignment, because chapter 3 really focused in on like time management and prioritizing. This is called What is Your Perfect Week? When you click on this, it's going to open up into a PDF in which you can type in. You've seen this already before in other assignments. So make sure that you follow these directions. It says, think about what your perfect week would look like. Now, when I say perfect week, I'm not talking about like perfect week in your dreams. Like I would spend it at the beach, or I would sleep all day. So we're going to be realistic. What would your perfect week look like in a realistic sense? Would you only spend a certain amount of hours at work each day? Would you spend a certain amount of hours on homework? Would you spend a certain amount of hours with friends, with family, watching TV? That kind of thing, like normal activities. So we're not talking about your dream week. You're like not going on a cruise, or not going overseas, or not just sleeping the week away, because I'm sure we all have those kind of, wishes that we want to have like a week of just nothingness, or, excited vacations. So in reality, if you could structure your week to be nice and balanced between work, school, family, friends, downtime, whatever that looks like, this is what that is for. So you're filling this document in, and obviously it doesn't even go all 24 hours. It starts at 6 a.m., goes down to 11 p.m. And if it's like the same thing, like sleep, and you don't want to rewrite the word sleep over and over again, like the little quotation marks saying, I would be sleeping during this part, or that's the first part. And then you can see down below there are 4 questions. Did you include study time? If so, how much total time? Did you include sleep time? How much total time? Did you include socializing? Did you include self-care? So just real quick answers. Now that part you cannot type down here. So when you go in here, once you filled out this part and you have, saved it with your changes, make sure you save it with your changes, and you save it somewhere. Just put it there. When you go into the Dropbox, you're going to go ahead and upload that document. And then those 4 questions, don't forget those 4 questions, go ahead and type write submission and then answer those 4 questions in the submission area. Okay, so those 4 questions being the ones down here about study, sleep, socializing, and self-care. Okay, so that's where you can write those. Upload the document that contains kind of how you fill this in, and then answer those 4 questions in the write submission area. So you write the submission and have a document attached. So you get both parts included, and then hit submit. Okay, that is due by Sunday. The other thing is your Chapter 3 quiz. So we're getting the hang of this as well, now that we're a couple weeks in. It's going to open up into a Word document. So there are 5 questions. Please make sure you're answering in around 2 to 5 sentences. So you are losing points if you're not answering in complete sentences or in at least 2 to 5 sentences. And you're losing points if you don't address all parts of the question. So just keep that in mind. So question 1 is asking you to think about your college versus high school experiences in regard to assignments. You know, how do they compare? How do your college experiences compare with your high school experiences in terms of your assignments? Are they different? Are they more difficult? Are you changing the way that you prepare for tests and assessments? Are you using the same strategies that you've used in high school, or have you found new strategies? So I know there's a lot of questions in that first one. You can kind of combine them into a couple of sentences responses. Question 2 talks about time tracking, specifically as it relates to section 3.4. So in your textbook, section 3.4, how to manage time, it has a, if you scroll down a little bit, activity where it talks about tracking your time. And this is something that I always tell students is a good idea anyway. Like, even if it's just a couple days or a full week would be even better if you can. You know, looking to see how much time do you spend driving, how much time do you spend sleeping, how much time do you spend on your phone, how much time do you spend in class, getting ready, all of that, all of those things. And to kind of look and see, where do you have time to spare? So question 2 is saying, have you ever done that before? Have you ever tracked your time? Have you thought about how much time your everyday activities take? Do you over or underestimate the time? Like, you're like, oh, it's going to take me 20 minutes to get ready, and then it only takes you 5, or it takes you half an hour, or, you know, like, do you tend to over or under? And if you could give some tips to a new student about time management, what are your top 5 tips? So again, that's question 2. Question 3 talks about that Eisenhower matrix that we talked about in the lecture video for this week, about items being either urgent and important, not urgent but important, and so on. There was those 4 categories. So when you think about meeting with an instructor, so this is saying like something about handling assignments, the textbook does say like maybe talk with your instructor. When you think about meeting with an instructor, are you comfortable with this? How would you go about starting that conversation? Is there anxiety about meeting with your instructor? So question 3 revolves around that. Question 4 talks about how can you squeeze some more productive time into your day? Like if you're waiting at the pickup line or at medical offices or wherever, do you have extra time in your day to kind of squeeze some things in? And then question 5 talks about time management in your career specifically. So you want to make sure that you pull in whatever career you're going into or you're possibly thinking of. I know some of you are undecided. What are you possibly thinking about going into, and how will time management play a role in that work situation? So make sure you save that and upload that into the Chapter 3 quiz Dropbox. All right, so please make sure that you are getting those 3 assignments done. Post your original response by Wednesday for attendance, to post to classmates by Sunday, and then your Chapter 3 assignment and your Chapter 3 quiz